Hello and welcome to.
And one thing that really bothers me is Prairie Dawn. Prairie Dawn, her birthday is like.
Thank you. I knew that Swoopfoomer would come in handy. Can I interest any of you in about 80-some party blowers? Anyone want like half a dozen? Can you think of any use for these, please?
Well, you can always pass them to Becca and make them consolation prizes on Hubble.
Great, then I have to mail them out.
Pass the curse on, JD.
I am considering trying to bring a lot of them to whatever the September 24th New York meetup is this year at the Museum of the Moving Image, because I am fascinated by the question of, can we get a very large number of a noise-making thing into a museum, a setting in which you are famously supposed to be quiet? And what will management do if, like, 25, 30 people are walking around with matching party blowers?
Oh, no.
But not blowing them. They just have them in their mouth.
Blowing them. Exactly.
Just keeping them so on edge.
Hello and welcome to the summer 2023 edition of the Great Muppet Fandom panel from toughpigs.com. This is a panel discussion show, and we're going to talk about highlights from the Henson headlines. It's sort of like a quarterly report on the state of our Muppet friends, except unlike the quarterly reports at a company that actually owns the Muppets, we will not be actively working to destroy the streaming model we depend on and the labor force we depend on at the same time. Each of our panelists has brought a discussion question for us. It could be about anything related to Jim Henson or the Muppets, but our main topic for this panel will be the biggest production to come from the Muppet Studio in a long time. I am, of course, talking about the much-adored The Muppets Mayhem. Let's introduce the panelists. First up, a Tough Pigs writer and the host of the Muppet Trivia Game Show podcast, Hubba Wah, one of my favorite podcasts, with a new season in production as we speak. We're gonna get there when the gettin's gettin' Becca Petunia.
Hey JD, how are you doing?
All right, and you can hear me now. We're not glitching.
I know, I heard that full introduction.
Oh, awesome. Let's try the next one. Next, you know him from his writing about Disney parks, and funnily enough, also from Tough Pigs. When you hear this sound a-comin', hear the drummer drumming, won't you join together with Matthew Soberman?
W.
Very good, Matthew. Next up, he's a professional illustrator, graphic artist, and designer who worked on the Muppet Palisades figures and served as the art director for the Great Muppet Mural. God only knows what I'd be without Jamie Carroll.
Hello, greetings.
Greetings. And finally, a Broadway actor whose credits include the U.S. touring production of Hamilton, and then the Broadway production of Hamilton, and then the Lincoln Center production of Camelot, and then, yes, this podcast. Hit me like a hurricane, electricity through my brain, got a feeling that I can't explain, I only know it's Fergie El Philippe.
Stunning. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. And I am your moderator, JD Hansel. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, before we continue, any edits that need to be made, I can rewrite any of that, re-record any of it.
I've changed the name of my podcast to...
Okay.
I just started a podcast in the last 10 minutes, so we're going to have to work that in.
That's fine. It is now time for the Great Muppet Question. Panelists, are you ready? Swell. This episode's Great Muppet Question is, in the context of an entertainment industry that is characterized by everything making lots of sense and radiating totally positive energy, where do you see the Muppets in 5 years?
I mean, probably still in their boxes, because, I mean, it's the summer. They're probably not going to be in production at the moment. So, like, they'll be waiting.
They'll be waiting.
Like, in their storage boxes at Puppet Heap.
Ready
to go.
Yeah. Aside from the ones that are with the performers for any random pieces of media representation. That's not actively promoting anything, of course.
No, there's absolutely no reason why Floyd was singing the song that he was singing at that concert.
No, zero.
Waldo C. Graphic is a scab.
Oh, okay.
I mean, technically, is he though? Because that's a that predates the strike by like, I don't know, 30, 35 years.
No. I'm saying what's going to be happening in 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Right after the great Waldo C. Graphic resurgence.
He's the only Muppet who's acting in 5 years because he's the only Muppet who crossed the picket line.
Because he's AI, right?
Because he's AI. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, we're getting there. My joke.
Sorry,
is
I'm developing an artificial lack of intelligence.
There we go. I as well.
Who's next?
Depends how long the strike goes. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I hope there's another show. I do. I hope they do a lot of shows. I don't know how well those did, but they apparently I've read recently that the companies keep the streaming results from everybody else, so we don't know how well the show did.
They sure do.
Correct.
So none of them know how well their show is doing. But
Yes.
piggybacking off of that, I actually hope they do more specials. I feel like that's something that's like really I mean, that's Henson kind of territory in general, but I feel like for Muppets, especially like, within the platform of Disney Plus, depending on how we decide to use streaming from this point forward, a part of me believes that a lot of it will die post-strike. But if we end up keeping, onto the streaming model as is, Muppets will definitely be confined to Disney Plus for a lot of it. And I feel like with that kind of sentence, I feel like, a lot of specials would kind of really work in their favor. I think Haunted Mansion did really, really well. And I think Disney is not capitalizing on something that could really be to their benefit, which is using the Muppets as framework for parodying all of their different other properties.
I will say, when they released, and I didn't watch them, but when they released those, it's Olaf retelling Moana. I was like, okay, but that kind of feels like you had characters who were tailor-made for that kind of stuff.
100%. Or as the Simpsons redo Star Wars, I'm like, you guys, you have characters that can do every single property and it will never get old. But
I was about to say there's no reason why the Muppets couldn't be doing what the Simpsons are currently doing.
Agreed.
even if it's shorts, they don't even have to be specials. But, I'm not a CEO. Obviously, I don't know what the F I'm talking about as a creative.
There's time. There's time. Who knows what the future holds in 5 years?
I do like how the initial mindset we said was like, this strike will still be going in 5 years.
Like, you understand, I'm not going to have this episode edited and released for a couple more weeks. Like, there's still another...
I do not have any optimism
We've
this will be settled before this
we
is
are recording
released.
this on, I believe, day 101, and there's still no sign of an end.
No.
So, JD, as long as you get this up, I think I wish it weren't true, but I'm willing to bet that in the 2 or 3 weeks it takes you to edit this.
No.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I feel like Iger and Zasloff and all of these other guys are really going to come to their senses and understand that they're being ridiculous and finally make a deal for the ages.
Of all the episodes that I didn't want to be evergreen, the episode I record during the strike is definitely one I did not want to be evergreen.
Wow.
I'm not saying the strike is going to last 5 years. I mean, again, like,
But I like how we all three was, yeah, it could be.
I mean,
that's just
actually
where we're
a
at.
good point. I just feel it is a seminal moment. You know what I mean? It's not like some of these others. It's very similar to the residual strike back. I think this was the 80s when that last happened. And so I feel like it's that same thing again. The business model has changed for how we absorb content. And now we have to have new rules about how we financially compensate people in the best way. And I believe that's going to change the game for how these companies decide to take these different IPs and market them. And Muppets is 100% included, considering, in my opinion, Disney doesn't value them that much in the first place. So it's going to be very, very interesting when we come back. This is why I'm very curious about what's going to happen to the streaming model once we get back from the strike.
The thing that you just said about how Disney values the Muppets, I read Bob Iger's book. Now, this was before he came back. This was last year. I have downtime between. Do you remember the quote? Where is it? Hold on. There was a quote that he had from Dan Burke, who was an executive at ABC. And the quote was, to avoid getting into the business of manufacturing trombone oil, the world only consumes a few quarts of trombone oil a year. Now, is this, when he says this, is he talking about niche properties under the Disney banner that aren't Marvel or Star Wars? Does he consider the Muppets trombone oil? I don't know the answer, but I just know that any time that they started to get going from like the Jason Segel film, there was the follow-up took 2.5 years. There was no momentum built, and anytime it started, it just seemed to be like they were not prioritized. So I don't know if that's a connection or whatever. So what they're doing in 5 years, I have no clue.
But when you even thinking about how the Muppets even got to Disney in 2004 in the first place, it was like one of Eisner's Hail Marys before he, basically got ousted, because it was the deal that he felt guilty about after Jim passed. And so it's like one of those things where like Iger gets into office and the first thing he wants to do is purchase Pixar. And then they're like, wait, what about the Muppets? And he's like, who? Who did we just purchase?
Yeah.
Just knowing Iger's history, because I mean, he came to Disney through ABC, and I believe he was head of ABC at the time Muppets Tonight was going on. He does not like really giving properties a second chance.
He threw them to Disney Channel.
If you can't produce, we're moving on to the next thing, and we're going to stick with what does.
I'm just confused because the Muppets are like a team of like performers. So I don't understand how they're also trombone oil. Like, I don't think it would work.
Well, you're doubting their ability as performers to convincingly play trombone oil.
Well, if you blend them and dilute
when
them,
they add the next member of the Mayhem who plays trombone,
right?
I bet you Gonzo owns the biggest collection of trombone oil in jars. I bet you he does.
And with that,
God.
we buy only a few quarts a year, and it's all by Gonzo.
And with that, it's getting to be about time for me to get to the news. But before I do, I'd like to remind everyone that we're not covering all the Muppet news on this show. This isn't a weekly updates podcast, so if you're looking for that, listen to another podcast. However, if you'd like to stay up to date on everything happening in the Muppet world as it's happening, you've got to follow toughpigs.com wherever social networks are sold. Speaking of social networks, this edition of the Great Muppet Fandom Panel is brought to you by the letter Twitter. Okay. I have one quick housekeeping note for the listeners before we get into the news. You might be wondering why we're not really discussing the 3 new Sesame Street specials announced for the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max. The reason, as usual, is scheduling. This episode was recorded a long, long time ago. So at the time of this recording, we don't know about it yet. It's not that I don't care about Oscar and Tango's Home and Food Garden Network handmade holiday handbag haberdashery. I would care deeply, if not for the fact that I didn't learn about it until after this recording.
JD, I just want to point out that according to Muppet Wiki, the description of Oscar the Grouch's homemade Halloween doesn't actually mention homemade or Halloween. It's like Oscar builds a house for charity or something. It's like,
yes, because he's the one most likely to perform a charitable act.
What are we even doing?
Becca, are you some sort of clairvoyant? How are you seeing into the future about this thing that we don't know about yet at the time of recording and therefore can't talk about?
What? Wait, Sesame Street is making specials? I can't wait to learn.
No, I don't know.
I hope they feature my favorite Food Network and HGTV and Magnolia Network stars.
And they're all 2D animation? What? Stop. No way.
But is Tango going to be there? They cannot do the show without
We're
Tango.
all dying to know about Tango.
I'm on the picket line if there's no Tango.
I mean, we'll all be on the picket line anyway eventually.
JD, I can't help but feel like we've lost the plot.
No, not at all, because this actually tees up Matthew's discussion question, if you can believe it. Matthew, go ahead.
So this kind of spins off a discussion a number of the Tough Big staff had recently. My question is Sesame Street even trying anymore? Because
pause.
What?
Pause. Before we keep going, let's try to be nice and respectful in however we answer this question. Because when Matthew pitched it, I was like, that's a little harsh, but I'm not... I mean, let's go ahead and ask, and so long as everyone is thoughtful, we'll be okay. I'm trusting that you all can handle this like grown-ups, right?
I don't think anybody's gonna... Okay, not with any undue immaturity.
All right. Fergie just flipped the bird at me. That's okay. We're gonna continue. Okay, go ahead.
Now, obviously, this issue isn't really stemming from the performers, or maybe even the writing staff. It's clear that this is a management issue, and there's a lack of direction within Sesame Street right now. It's literally the cause, which used to be, let's educate people, let's make it something that parents and kids can watch together and both enjoy. And it's literally, the mission is now, let's just keep these characters relevant in the public consciousness. It feels like things are aimless right now on the curriculum side.
It's a very interesting place that they're finding themselves in terms of like how they're choosing to go about portraying the characters in the public eye. Like, you know, I was joking about the 2D animation thing, but it's like, I think it's really interesting that you have these characters that are specifically known because they are 3D, lifelike. They feel like people who walks amongst the earth, with everyone else. And we have these characters and we choose to put them in cartoon form. And it does make me beg the question of what is the relevance of having them not be what they were originally intended for, when the whole appeal of them was that they were, these three-dimensional characters that felt like human beings in a lot of ways. And I feel like that kind of relates to, I think, where they are right now, because I do think it's more about keeping the characters relevant instead of keeping the mission of how those characters were created relevant, and it's, I think, why we're seeing a lot more of the Sesame Street characters in commercials and kind of things like that. Like, I think it's like having the brand name of Sesame Street consistently there. And it's also difficult because this has kind of been our thing ever since HBO bought them. You know what I mean? Like, ever since Warner Brothers Discovery has had their hands on them, it's that kind of thing of like, now that we have this, brand, and you know what, like, this is the common theme. It's the same thing that we were talking about with Disney and Muppets. Like, it's that same exact thing. You have this IP that was built out of kind of like a mom and pop shop that has been purchased by a big corporate entity, and now that is being used to, how do we put this amongst our like Looney Tunes characters or against our Harry Potter characters? Like, they view it in that same exact way, and there isn't a sense of like, well, these characters were born out of something else, and so we have to manage them differently. It's like, no, how do we manage them like we manage everything else? Which is where I think a lot of this come from. And I think a lot of it also is that like the nonprofit is still struggling. They're really struggling right now. You know what I mean? Financially, they are not in the same place that they were in the 80s and 90s, even the early 2000s. And so, it's this kind of difficult thing about like, how are we using the brand of the characters in order to keep them relevant, in order to keep us afloat so that we can keep making the show in the first place.
I'm just going to jump in real fast just to say that whoever out there is currently typing a comment about how technically Warner did not buy Sesame Street itself.
Yes, y'all, come on.
Just put your hands down.
Yes.
It's okay. I know how all the whole, we all know what I mean, okay? I'm just being proper.
But it is, Fergie does make an interesting point. It is clear, certainly now more than ever under the distribution agreement, it feels like Sesame Workshop is trying to please Warner Brothers.
Yup.
Yeah.
Well,
yup.
So I think they are trying. I think they're trying under the stipulations that they have. Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
No, I just see that they're trying to following more of a Nickelodeon SpongeBob sort of plan of getting things out of there. Because SpongeBob is using puppets now. They're trying to diversify how they connect with people. And I don't see that that's wrong. I see that that might not be right for Sesame Street because they used to be the trendsetter and now they're following the trends. And that's the difference that I see. I don't think any of the work is bad. I think all the work they put out is quality. I don't know about these new reality shows. That kind of scares me a little bit.
Wait, what reality shows?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the ones we've never heard a thing about.
The ones we've never heard of. I hope they never do reality. Okay. But I don't know. It's they don't know where they're headed, and I feel like that translates into the market doesn't know. The entertainment industry doesn't know where they're headed because they themselves don't know where they're headed. And Jim Henson used to have this kind of just let's wing it. Let's put a show on in a barn and we'll figure it out and people will come. But you can't really do that so much anymore. And if you do, you need a leader like that. And that comes around. So I don't know. But I do see that they're using a more of a Nickelodeon, more of a model of just using the characters as icons rather than as actual characters.
I mean, listen, Sesame Street's doing fine. I'm wearing a combination of the Mr. Snuffleupagus and Elmo nail polish right now. It's Mr. Snuffleupagus and then Elmo on top, so it's kind of like the episode where Elmo helped, make sure that Snuffy stayed put for the adults.
Yeah.
So listen, I can't complain. Sesame Street, it's great.
The folks
I got
at home
that.
can't see it right now, but Becca's just holding up her nails, and it looks like Elmo swinging around on Snuffy's trunk.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, gang. Folks, let's actually get into the news proper. We have 2 Disney park stories to talk about, and some Disney parks fans on this panel. This is exciting. Now, I know some of our listeners may not know a lot about how theme parks work, so I'd like to take a moment to address those members of our audience who have never been to a Disney park and briefly explain Epcot festivals. Hi, Anthony Strand. Thank you for listening. Epcot is the second park built for Disney World, and it is largely inspired by World's Fairs. While many of us Disney Parks fans love it and consider it among our favorite parks, the general population has historically considered it quite boring. So in 1994, they held the Flower and Garden Festival, which consisted of beautiful flower displays from all the countries featured in World Showcase and topiaries of the Disney characters. It was such a big success that they decided it should just always be a festival. Yes, when Epcot received a snow globe from Santa Claus giving it 3 wishes, Epcot said, "Epcot wishes it could be a festival every day. Wish, 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 Figment." And now it's basically a festival every day in Epcot. So far, Santa Claus has not come to sing a song about how every day can't be a festival. So right now, for the International Food and Wine Festival, the whole darn park is filled with little kitchens and pavilions where you can, yes, drink beverages. Now, can you do that all year round? Sure, but right now, you can have, more of them. So, a ticket to enter the park costs $134. I think that is this so far makes sense to Anthony Strand, right? He can understand why you would pay that much to go to this thing. Has everything been clear? Has everything been accurate?
I mean, not just the festival. I mean, there's also Living with the Land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Ellen's energy adventure is gone. So I don't know. I mean,
but what's really the point? However, Imagination with Figment is still there, and I would argue that once you do that, you can go home.
I don't know. It's the bad Imagination with Figment.
Epcot is my favorite park. I love it, warts and all. I think the reason Santa hasn't come to sing about how every day can't be a festival is because the food and beverage executives are literally holding him from the front gate, because this is how Epcot makes its money. Festivals are money.
That's exactly what I was about to say. One of the big reasons in Elmo Saves Christmas why every day can't be Christmas is Santa makes clear that it would stop the economy. And that is the exact opposite of what's going on with the Epcot Food and Wine Festival.
Well, here's what else is going on with the Epcot Festival. At the Odyssey Events Pavilion, they've got Muppets this year. That's right. Visit the Brew Wing Lab to taste Dr. Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker's latest inventions, peanut butter and jelly sticky wings, and pickle milkshakes, among other delights. So, Anthony, again, just to clarify, that's only $134 at the time of this recording. It's likely to go up by the time you're listening, plus the cost of the food. How are you not into this, Anthony? Why are you a person? This is the most exciting thing. Panelists, what do you think about the Muppet Labs Brew Wing Labs?
So I've been actually working, and it'll hopefully be up by the time this comes out. We'll see. But I've been working with a friend of mine to get some intel on this on the Tough Pigs website. My friend Mel lives in Florida, and they went to the parks to check it out and tried some of the food and sent us lots of photos and stuff. So it's really exciting. Except, I got to be honest, there's not a hell of a lot going on with this. It's the same kind of thing that I feel like Disney will occasionally do with the Muppets, where it's I don't know, just not Muppety enough. You want it to be more. I get the idea that's Bunsen and Beaker are making crazy foods that don't make sense, just like they once sharpened bananas. But there isn't a lot of I don't know. I mean, what it all comes down to is there's a commemorative cup that has a pretty cute Epcot Food and Wine Festival science-y logo, but like it doesn't even have Bunsen and Beaker on it. Like, what are we doing here? And Bunsen and Beaker aren't actually there. It's pre-recorded videos that just play on screens. They didn't bring back the Muppet Labs mobile lab, which was the drive around Bunsen and Beaker animatronic puppets that used to drive around the Disney parks. They didn't bring that back. It's Bunsen and Beaker on a screen. I hear the food's pretty good, although Mel did not try the super duper hot wings or the pickle milkshake. And let me tell you, if I were at the park, I would try the pickle milkshake because pickles are my favorite food. I just wish that they did a little more than just, they recorded some new Bunsen and Beaker content, put it on screens, put up some posters where Bunsen and Beaker explain the science behind the food, and, didn't even put Bunsen and Beaker on the logo.
See, I'd want to get drunk with Bunsen and Beaker. I know. It's going to be a thing.
I don't even drink, and I want to get drunk with Bunsen and Beaker.
Oh, boy. As Tough Pig's resident Disney Parks fanatic, I am the anti-Anthony Strand in that one respect. We agree on many things. The parks is not one of them.
Right.
I have to say, when you were talking in the introduction about how Disney generally doesn't care about the Muppets, I do want to add that the caveat. It's because of the way Disney is structured. It's clear that maybe the high executives, really don't care too much about the Muppets, but the Muppet Studio falls under Disney Parks and Experiences, or whatever it's been renamed. Used to be Parks and Resorts. That division truly cares about Muppets because they could have thrown anything in there. At this point, I understand it was a science lab. This is not Brew Wing's first time at the festival. They've been there before, just generally unthemed. They chose to incorporate the Muppets into this. They brought them in when they didn't have to. Something is better than nothing, though I agree not bringing back Muppets Mobile Lab for this was a missed opportunity. Though I do appreciate that they did film new segments instead of just showing old Muppet Lab sketches on the wall, though that could be entertaining in itself.
I was about to say, I don't know, have you seen those stuff? They're good.
Oh, no, I know that, but I'm glad that they're at least trying to do new things. You didn't have to bring in the Muppets, but you brought them in because people care about them.
Yeah, and I should say, I feel like I kind of came down hard, but like, there are a lot of very cute things. I just always want more. Is kind of my take. Like, I'm certainly not opposed, and like I said, I think that a lot of the sciencey stuff is very cute, and I think it is. Bunsen and Beaker are kind of a good fit for Epcot in a way that I guess I never thought about before.
Look, it's them or the Swedish Chef. And to be fair, the Odyssey is just steps away from where the chef once sold Svenska Tacos.
True.
Oh, by the way, they're folded into Imagineering, I think.
But that's still under the same division. I think that's
the section, which shows that they should have the mobile lab.
The fact that the mobile labs isn't here is the, most egregious thing, I think.
And knowing the layout of the Odyssey, they had the space to do it.
But I feel like I heard a rumor the mobile lab itself, as a unit function, was hard to keep up with maintenance-wise. I believe there was some sort of issue with trying to keep it active. I could be completely wrong about that, but I feel like it has more to do with that.
It's an older model.
Yeah. But it was so popular. Now. Oh my God. It was so great. I remember seeing it live and everyone stopped and was like, there is a live Muppet in front of me. I have to stay and watch this thing. Imagineering, absolutely. I think they care so much about the Muppets properties and they, work really hard to include them, because I especially think that once they announced that Imagineering was going to absorb Muppets, that's when I kind of went, oh, Imagineering can have IP? That's interesting. And I feel like for Imagineering, for them, that was a gold mine. They were like, oh my God, we have these characters that we can throw into our parks. We don't need permission from the higher ups to have access to them because they're our neighbors. They literally are. They have offices in the Glendale offices.
Right.
They are right there. And so, and I think recently Lee Slaughter, who, for those who don't know, is head of Muppet Studio, she has been very active because she's been part of Imagineering for so long. She has been really smart and strategic, I think, actually, about how she's kind of layering the Muppets into Imaginary.
Didn't Leah Slaughter leave? Or am I mistaken?
No, she's still there.
I really think it's still, I believe it's pronounced Leigh Slaughter. I'm pretty sure.
Correct.
Wow.
No, Leah's definitely still there. I mean, that would be a very short run, and it would make me very sad if she was gone.
My mistake.
But she, because she's been there for so long, I think she's actually doing something really smart in terms of the past couple of years. And I think what is happening right now is that they're kind of incorporating them into the parks little by little, slowly until eventually you wake up and realize, oh, they're kind of everywhere right now. And I think that is actually a really smart method, because if we're going to talk about how I think Disney values the Muppets, I think when it comes to how much money they want to spend on certain IPs, I don't think Muppets is going to be the first thing that comes to their mind in terms of spending a lot of money. However, these kind of small side projects like having Bunsen and Beaker at Epcot or kind of things like that are actually good little things that the more little things you add up, eventually it'll get to a place where hopefully I think where they're kind of constantly within the purview of the different Disney properties.
I mean, it has been a slow thing. There's a whole theme park named after Animal.
Exactly. They've been working for years on that,
But jokes aside, I mean, it's so funny because the original plan for the MGM studios, for Hollywood Studios, was that it was going to be have a lot of Muppet stuff, was an original idea. I mean, granted, that was
truly
back when Henson was alive, but they were planning a number of Muppet things.
So you're saying this is all Jim Henson's fault for abandoning us?
If he didn't go and die, I think we would have gotten a lot of good stuff. So I don't necessarily doubt that.
Listen,
down with Jim Henson.
If Jim Henson were still alive, what I'm going to say is I would be able to buy a pickle milkshake year round.
Well, maybe when you get the magic snow globe, you can wish for that, Becca.
There we go.
Every day can't be milkshakes.
Okay. The other Disney Parks news story is that Disney's Jollywood Nights at the Theater of the Stars at Disney's Hollywood Studios will be presenting a musical variety show for the holidays this year, hosted by Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy. Now, the Muppets have hosted some pretty famous guest stars on their previous variety shows, like The Muppet Show, Muppets Tonight, but this time, they got the big A-list stars, Princess Belle and Princess Tiana. Panelists, how do we feel about this use of the characters, or anything else you want to say about the theme park stuff that we have already covered?
This is just fabulous. I mean, for the first time, the Muppets will be doing something for Christmas. For Pete's sake, this has been a long time coming.
We've been waiting.
It's almost as if someone was like, what's really good? That Christmas movie they did a while ago. That's one of the good ones they did.
Yeah, Mr. Willoughby's Christmas Tree. It's one of the best things they've ever done.
Yeah, exactly.
Starring Disney legend Robert Downey Jr.
My God.
But, so I think that this is actually something that they should do more of. They are the characters who are the variety show hosts. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be cool if they sort of hosted. Disney keeps doing, not just at the parks, but not at the parks, this like on Disney Plus and on ABC. They'll do these everybody's singing a song from Schoolhouse Rock nights.
Right.
And it's yes, the Muppets are on those sometimes, but they are the variety host characters. This is what they do.
Yeah, but I will just say, I agree with you, but I would like to add, with most of the other characters that Disney puts in their parks or puts in a show like this, again, it's the other characters we know about are Princess Belle, Princess Tiana. These are characters that they can have different people play. If you want Kermit the Frog and you want it to be authentic, you have to get the Matt Vogel, who is also doing stuff for Sesame Street or whatever. It's a little more complicated to include the Muppets in a way that feels really satisfying.
Now, here's my question, though. Are the Muppets being featured live, or are they being featured through video?
Oh.
I believe, if I remember the press release correctly, because I'm the one who wrote the Tough Pigs story, I believe it is going to be live puppetry, pre-recorded audio in the same vein as Great Moments in American History.
Yeah.
I take back my comment.
The Great Moments in American History, I saw it when I was at Disney World in 2019. And I enjoyed it. I mean, again, like, look, it isn't of the same level of quality as, like, again, like if you want to watch the Muppet movie, from, but like, as far as theme park entertainment goes, it absolutely felt authentic enough to me. It was, pre-recorded, but live puppeteers.
And it's actually like a really great kind of like speaking to, because I know a few of the puppeteers who perform at Disney World, and like a lot of them are people who work with Henson or are people who have done the workshops and stuff like that. And it's actually a great opportunity for them to get in with Henson, because they usually have Henson or Muppets people come down and train them, especially for those specific like Muppet property things. And so it's actually kind of this like new relationship being formed in terms of how Muppets is incorporating themselves into the world. And I think they're becoming a lot more comfortable with the idea of like pre-recorded segments and having different puppeteers do this. I don't know if anybody remembers this. Remember years ago when they did like a Muppets cruise on a carnival, and they had like a show, but like it was like Drew Massey and John Kennedy, but like they didn't do pre-records. They had them like kind of do the voices on the ship. And it turned into this really uncomfortable thing for the performers in the company. I feel like that's where the first few conversations started of like, hey, we can't do that. We have to start being more consistent. But I feel like the company is getting a little bit more forthright about these kind of pre-recorded performance segments, especially, I mean, on the Broadway end of things, there's all these rumors about Muppets coming to Broadway and Muppet Christmas Carol coming to Broadway that are seeming more and more real. And it seems like this method of pre-record is like a big thing they're trying to invest in.
I mean, because Disney did not buy just a box of puppets. That's what a lot of the, I guess, the higher up executives that don't understand them don't get.
Exactly.
It's so yeah.
What I think is interesting about this discussion, and I don't say this in a negative way. I'm not being critical, because I have loved hearing this entire conversation and getting to be part of it. It's fascinating how so much of what we end up talking about still boils down to decisions that were made about 20 years ago, in terms of just like Disney buying the Muppets and then immediately wrestling with the questions of, can we have different puppeteers do the Muppets? And then similarly, decisions made at Sesame Workshop a very long time ago that very slowly started moving things in the direction where they are now. It's like so much has changed for the Muppets over the past 20 some years, and yet it still kind of feels like very little has changed. Like so much has just changed for them within the past few months. It's a very different landscape for the Muppets, where like the Muppets Mayhem exists as an independent entity within the Muppet franchise. And yet, while that is true and that means very much to me, at the same time, I'm still, much like the rest of you, I can't help but look at this in the big picture perspective of, we're still trying to sort out messes that were made when I was a kid.
I mean, I see the Muppets, challenges with Disney would be the same challenges with almost any other studio.
Yeah.
But I see, like, from the beginning, it's an issue of cohesion, of momentum, and authenticity. And if they can get those three things in line, which I feel like they did with Muppets Mayhem, and then, of course, the writer's strike, and they can't keep promoting stuff. But they actually Disney kept the Muppets Mayhem banner on Disney Plus for, like, was it 6
a while.
weeks in a row? Yeah. They never do that. It's usually like 2, maybe 3 weeks, and you're done.
Yeah, especially the fact that they dumped all the episodes at once. It's not like it was something they could plug every week. A new
every week.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It wasn't like The Mandalorian or anything else. Well, I think they dump everything that's not like Marvel or Star Wars. They usually just dump that at once.
Basically, their policy is, quote unquote, adult shows get weekly releases, and then quote unquote family or kid shows get bulk releases. Wow. The one exception I can think of is Monsters at Work, but that seems to pretty much consistently be.
And that is the first time I've been reminded that exists since it came
existed,
out.
Yeah.
The longest running series.
Becca, you are the new marketing department for that show.
I watched the first 2 episodes, and I said
I'm good.
That was okay, but not great, or even good.
Of all the things they could go to in that world, and that's what they decided. I don't know.
You wanted the sequel, here it is.
But, that goes into an actually very interesting point. Like the fact that even when Muppets announced that they were top of the Billboard charts for the Electric Mayhem album for children's music, it was like this like double-edged sword of like, yes, it's great like that these kind of ratings are coming in, but and I think this is a big thing with how Disney markets Muppets is that they're still marketed as a children's entity. I mean, frankly, it's only considered children's because it's puppets. You know what I mean? Like you hear Kermit and Fozzie do that thing from Schoolhouse Rock, and kids watching it aren't going, "Oh my God, I just watched them this morning." They're like, "Huh?" And their parents are the one who are like, "This is crazy," watching Kermit and Fozzie sing this Schoolhouse Rock song.
Mm-hmm. Well, before Jim Henson's death, they had like the, you can draw like Fozzie Bear. What were those videos they had for children?
Those like Playhouse, and they were literally called Playhouse Collection videos. Yep.
Hey, you're as funny as Fozzie Bear. That was
yes. And then they had the Muppet Babies, and those were the two things. So having them, relegated to children's properties, I understand that, but I felt like the setup happened years ago, back in the 80s.
I don't disagree.
Actually,
yeah. And then in the 90s, you get the sing-alongs, and you get all this kind of different stuff. I don't disagree with that whatsoever.
Move,
it's so interesting.
Muppets Tonight to Disney Channel.
Yeah.
The Prince episode. They hid the Prince episode of all the episodes.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So fascinating.
So while we're talking about Muppets,
JD, you have a Herculean task, like with these segues. Like we are going places, and JD has to be like, "And my bulleted list. I spent hours on this bulleted list. We need to."
Several hours, yes. Look, I'm loving where this conversation is going. This is great, and also
we're just here like, hey, remember the "Wow, you're a cartoonist" Playhouse videotape that featured Tickles and Pop?
This is what I want you to do.
I have ADHD.
Correct. Like every other Muppet fan, we're all neurodivergent, so we're all just trying to like find all as many topics as possible.
I think JD contributed to the discussion before we ever had it, with his Meet the Feebles piece on Tough Pigs. Yes, how can you market this as a children's show when you're making references to Meet the Feebles of all things?
So exquisite, man. Rewatched it the other night. So beautifully terrible.
As a defender of Meet the Feebles, I'm not defending I defend the exact. Like,
I am going to get out the swoop foomer again, Jamie. We are not making that another tangent. I gave you several paragraphs in my article. You took over like a third of my piece, Jamie. You're done.
I stand with Jamie.
I'm blowing the swoop foomer. I'm calling it.
I stand with Jamie as another Meet the Feebles defender. I stand with every statement Jamie has said.
I see the movie.
Please watch it. It's truly phenomenal.
Becca, weigh in. Your thoughts on Meet the Feebles?
I like the Frighteners, but I haven't seen Meet the Feebles. And I liked King Kong. I'm a Peter Jackson's King Kong defender, although I haven't seen it in a while.
What about that one with the guys in the ring? I don't know. Did anything come from that?
No, it didn't, and we're moving on. A couple of Muppets.
I have organized notes.
JD has summoned the Eagles, where GD is taking us to the next topic.
A couple of okay. A couple of Muppets have popped up unexpectedly at concerts this summer. First, Animal made surprise appearances at the Newport Folk Festival in late July and performed with the indie groove band Goose and the Muppets cover band My Morning Jacket. Then, Floyd Pepper made a surprise appearance. We're moving past it. Then, Floyd Pepper made a surprise appearance at a Tyler Childers concert, also in Newport, where he and the band performed the Electric Mayhem song Gonna Get There. Finally, I'd like you, the listener, to remember not to turn around, because Zoot is making a surprise appearance right behind you right now. If you try to look at him, he disappears or stabs you. I can't say for sure. Panelists, How do you feel about spontaneous Muppet music performances?
I'm sorry, I'm too busy worrying if Zoot's gonna stab me.
Just don't turn around and you'll be okay.
With the shoe teeth. That's how he's going to get you.
So you all understand now, I didn't actually have to transition to keep the show going. It's not about my bulleted list. It's about I wrote bad jokes.
Sure.
And I've been eager to say them.
What I will say is I'm all for it. It's a little upsetting to us as a Muppet website that we can't necessarily report on this stuff very easily.
Like, we didn't know about it until it happened.
Yeah.
Zero promotion.
That's how Outside Lands happened. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't necessarily announced that the entirety of the Electric Mayhem was going to be performing there, because that's kind of how the famous story of, like, it started with a good number of people, and then out of nowhere it was like, what is it, 10,000 people ended up being out there for that performance. And so I think so much of it also was like, why don't we try to recreate that?
This is kind of the way that I feel like a lot of concerts go these days.
Yeah.
Like, that was always one of the gimmicks with, like, the Taylor Swift concerts was, like, you'll never believe, like, what guest she's bringing out this night. Like, that was with the, even with the last tour, and, the Eras tour is continuing that on. And, like, that's become kind of like the fun thing that I feel like a lot of musicians are doing. I mean, arguably they always have done. That's not new to Taylor Swift. I'm not going to claim she invented it, but like, yeah, it's a fun surprise. Animal and Floyd are like any other musician. Like, that's the thing about the Muppets. They exist in our world. Like My Morning Jacket sang.
Okay. Let me just say before we continue, I am again doing another one of my nervous, like, disclaimers that in terms of the Muppets not wanting to promote these concert appearances, I don't know to what extent that has to do with the fact that, like, they can't really be promoting the show, but I want to clarify we're not being critical of anyone not promoting things right now. Like, solidarity with the strike, good. We want the actors who are making these things to be respected and make money. Now that I've said that, by all means, go ahead and have yours.
I'm not mad at the writers or the performers. I'm mad at the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Which we're all feeling.
And I think it is one of those things that, like, I think the strike kind of did that. But at the same time, I think it's also specifically about exposing it to people who might not necessarily already be fans of Muppets, instead of Muppet people immediately getting the jump and getting down there, which of course for us, we're like, hey, we were here first.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it's an interesting method that they're trying, because Disney was heavily involved with, this Newport performance weekend.
And it's better than just having some viral animations. You have the puppets, send them somewhere.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Just consider for a moment with how many people are very happy to clap for Muppets in person when they don't even know Muppets are going to be there. Imagine if someone told fans,
told people they were going to be there
and see Muppets. I mean, not like they haven't ever done it. Obviously, they've had success with, the Hollywood Bowl and stuff. But, like, imagine.
Rich, listen, man, y'all need to. Why are we not doing more, baby? I'm not trying to distract the main topic, but, like, it's that thing. It's my same thing with Sesame Street. I've been saying this for years. I'm like, the Jazz at Lincoln Center show from a few years ago was a hit. And I'm kind of like, what?
That show was next level. Matthew,
it was unbelievable.
Me, right?
It was fantastic. Like, I could not believe how good the show was. And it is one of those things that I'm like, why are we not taking more advantage of this kind of thing? If Sesame Street did a Radio City, now granted, to rent out Radio City is just like an arm and a leg and then maybe a kidney. But if Sesame Street did a Radio City show, it would sell out in seconds. There's no question that would be a popular event. So it does make me beg the question of, like, these live events, I think, are actually very smart. I think they should keep doing them. I'm surprised they're not doing them more. There's probably more financial obligations at play that I'm not considering. But I do think it's something viable. And it's obviously something that for the Muppets right now, in the age of fighting over currency on screen, is something they have over a lot of other IPs, is that if they do it live, it's actually better than what they're putting on screen.
And there's a willingness with the performers now that is just, they want to be doing all these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll say this, if I had my wish, there would be a Muppet Live performance every day, but I haven't gotten my snow globe yet from Santa. That's the only issue here. It's entirely Santa Claus's fault.
Because he's being detained by Epcot security.
Every day can't be Muppets.
All right. Before we go to the break, I'd like to mention that there's been a great deal of Muppet merchandise released, or at least announced. Some released, some announced over the past few months. Do any of you want to talk about one or two of these new items that really stand out to you?
How great is it that there's going to be a line of Funko Pops specifically themed to the Muppet Christmas Carol?
Thank you, God.
Oh,
with dead eyes, but no.
The Marley Brothers alone.
I mean, I would have figured that they had given up on Muppets with Funko.
I'm not a Funko Pop person. I like them. I have a couple, but I have never seen Funko Pops that have made me go, I need to get that until I saw the Marley Brothers Funko Pops. I was like, that is so cool.
I just don't. I feel like there's not a consistency with the pupils. From someone who's worked on toys, I have this idea of like, if you set a standard, you should keep the standard. But it seems like it because Disney has like very specific. Kermit's eyes have to be seen a certain way. I believe that's why he and Robin have certain eyes, and the rest of them, look like they're filled with the devil. But
yeah, I mean, Jamie, as an artist too, and obviously not at the same level as you, but like it really just bothers me because again, like the eyes are the most important part of the Muppet.
Yes, the thing that I usually back, if people don't know, I did some art direction for different action figures, but the thing that I would always do is do a pupil placement. I would do the Henson triangle on each page. Even Bunsen with his glasses, I did. I would show the correct way, the incorrect way. You wouldn't even have to have English. It was just, it's visual.
So you had examples of what not to do as well?
What to do, what not to do. Yes.
That's amazing.
Also, if they sent me something, there's the way they had it. There's a way that was supposed to be, and then the way that they should never do it. But yes. But that's the thing with the Pops is when a property is popular when they have a Funko Pop. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Because the fact that they wanted to put some money into that and they think that they're going to move units, that's a good sign.
Jamie, since we've been talking about merch, do you want to ask your question for the panel?
Oh, yeah. My question for the panel was, what kind of merchandise would you like to see from the Muppets, and which brand? Whether it be Sesame, Labyrinth, Muppets.
I mean, I'm going to jump in because I say this all the time, and I think I've said it when I was on the paywalled episode of this podcast. Mm-hmm. There needs to be more Sesame merchandise for adult collectors, and it boggles my mind that there aren't. It is a nostalgia brand like anything else, and we see, I go to Target and you see an entire shelf of like just Gremlins and E.T. And it's like, if I can get, and I have a super, super high quality Brain Gremlin figure on my shelf, but like you could do that for any of the Sesame Street characters and people would buy it.
Well, Becca, that would be fun, but not at all civilized. I'm sorry, go ahead. Come on.
Thank you, JD.
Like, and even if it's on the thing, because like I feel like the idea for them is they're like, if we lean in too much into the nostalgia, it takes away from the relevancy of how they're trying to promote the characters right now. But even think about it like this. Even if you decided to sell the characters that aren't even being used right now, a hairy monster, a prairie dawn, honkers. If you gave me honkers action figures, I would go to the manufacturer myself and buy the entire damn thing. Because
isn't that kind of why Sesame Place does that limited edition plush year after year of the obscure characters?
Correct.
I know one little thing about the Sesame brand is they are notoriously the strictest with their standards with companies. They're harder to work with for a good reason. Yeah. I mean, compare the Super 7 Sesame Street figures with the Super 7 Electric Mayhem figures, which I have given some criticism. It's the same reaction brand, but they are light years apart in quality. They both have that kitsch 80s figure quality where they're kind of stiff, but in a beautiful way, the Sesame ones. Those are gorgeous. I will definitely be getting those. I do think that, $25 is a bit steep for things that come with one figure and whatever. They don't have, like with Palisades, they're going to come with the letters, with the eyeballs and all the things, or in a piece of 1, 2, 3 Sesame. I mean, with these.
Oh God, don't even get me started. I mean, I've talked about that forever. How much I regret that they never made those Palisades. And you look at the list of the ones that they were going to make, and it's like, we were going to make a Gladys the Cow one.
The tears come to my eyes.
A Guy Smiley action figure.
Ken was my first. He's the guy that gave me my first break. So we talk all the time, and he waxes about what he would have done all the time with the Sesame figures, and they really do wish they could have done those. And he's still kind of, every once in a while he talks about it and says, I would love to do those. But
maybe it's because I think I like Sesame more than I like the Muppets proper, but like I feel like Sesame also has a deeper bench than the Muppets proper.
100%.
They could do these. I think it's the expense of the license. And I think that's factored in, and how the quality control and the design. It's really not, it's not as easy to come up and develop a product. Plus, I think there is the apprehension of having something that has too many small parts for children, for a property people see as a children's property. There's a lot of reasons, but I still think that's bunk. I think they should make them. I think they should make so much of it.
Listen, I was joking about it earlier. It is bizarre to me. And honestly, I'm going to write about it for the website. I've been impressed with the quality that the Sesame Street makeup that they keep putting out is like actually very decent. And I have like 10 different Muppet nail polish colors now that I mix and match. And it's like, okay, you definitely don't want to give this nail polish to a toddler. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, look at the damn Bombas. I'm like, you think the kids are the ones buying these damn socks? Like, I can tell you right now, it's mostly adults that I know. And even people who are not Muppet people look at me and go, Fergie, look, I have my Count Von Count socks on right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's mostly adults who are doing it. I wear those to
work all the time.
I'm wearing them right now.
My students get so excited when they see, they're like, is that Bert on your socks?
But do they have replica Bert socks, the Argyle socks?
I wish.
Oh my God.
That's a deep cut, but yes.
Fun.com did those 2 costumes that are terribly made, but like I have the Ernie sweater, and it's really, I have a lot of fun wearing that terrible piece of cloth. Anyway, I'm sorry, Jamie.
I'm sorry, JD.
Well, panelists, you've given us a lot to think about, but it is time for our commercial break, and we'll be right back after this. Here at Pants for Less, we don't just sell high-quality pants. Now you can also find delightful and hilarious t-shirts.
Really?
Yeah, just get out your phone and go to tpublic.com/toughpigs.
Okay.
And select from over 30 different Muppet-inspired or Muppet-adjacent designs.
I see. Oh, so you don't actually sell t-shirts here. You're just saying I can buy t-shirts while I am standing in your store.
That's right.
Well, then why wouldn't I just walk to another store?
You can't.
Why not?
You're in the cube.
Oh no, I'm in the cube! It's a nightmare!
Well, it doesn't have to be. No matter where you are, so long as you can connect to the internet, you can always find entertainment on toughpigs.com, including videos, podcasts, and thousands of articles. There's even more when you join the Tough Pigs Patreon, which is the best way to support the site so we can keep doing what we're doing.
Is it a lot more on the Patreon?
No, it's very little more. We're stretched pretty thin, but that's still the best way to support the site. And the second best way is to buy our merch. Actually, the second best is to get 3 people to buy our merch, then have them get 3 more people to buy our merch, then have them get 3 more people to buy our merch, and so on.
Isn't that kind of like a pyramid scheme?
Buddy, this is a cube. How can it also be a pyramid? They're 2 different shapes.
I mean, I'm not an anthropologist. I don't know much about pyramids.
Folks, listen. Support Trombono, I mean Tough Pigs, on our Patreon or TeePublic store today. It's the only way to avoid being sent to the cube. And remember, supporting Tough Pigs won't help you avoid Zoot. Just don't turn around. Welcome back, anybody. We're gonna change the tempo and modulate as we transition to the next piece in our medley of Muppet musings, Disney's The Muppets Mayhem. All 10 episodes dropped in May, and we've had lots of time to rewatch the show and figure out how we feel about it. Can each of you panelists tell me in about 5 minutes or less what your general feelings are about The Muppets Mayhem?
Yeah, I was both anticipating that I would love it, but I was not prepared for how much I was going to be moved by it. Emotionally, I really was expecting it to be great, silly fun, and it absolutely was. But I think the one thing from the 2015 controversial series that they found was that this new era of performers are able to tap into these characters on a very kind of grounded and deep level with these characters that I don't think we've seen before, that is actually very interesting. And I don't know if we were necessarily expecting that. And I think that is something that they very much were intentional about carrying into this version of the television world for the Muppets. And it was really nice to kind of get some of those moments. But, you know, from a structural standpoint, I think that the way that they had those moments placed throughout the series was just the right amount, where it was like a nice, you know, wholesome moment here and there that felt great, but it was mostly about the silly fun. So for me, you know, I think Muppets Mayhem is such a great, exciting prospect of where the studio is going in terms of the content that they're going to create. I think it's just fabulous.
My go-to feeling about this is, as someone who enjoyed the 2015 series, it sort of feels like vindication. Like, yes, you can expand these characters' backstories in a way that makes sense. I mean, I think that's maybe what the previous series didn't do, is that it tried to give them depth, but it didn't feel authentic to the character. Here, yeah, I can believe that Floyd got kicked out of West Point for turning taps into a jazz odyssey. And, you know, Dr. Teeth having this family legacy to have to live up to, but still managing to fulfill it in his own way. It's one of those, it's just, it feels natural. I'm reminded of a conversation I had with Craig Shemin. For those of you who don't know, Muppet writer, president of the Jim Henson Legacy. I spoke with him a while back, and he made a very interesting point. You know, if it can be done without puppets, it shouldn't be done with puppets.
It shouldn't be done with puppets. Which I think is the Jerry Jewell rule that that he used to give them.
Huh. Okay.
And I think where this one got it right is that it felt like you couldn't tell this story without puppets.
Yeah.
And I agree with Fergie. I mean, the depth that they got these series. Who thought you could get depth out of Animal, of all people?
Come on,
because
man.
Famously, Frank Oz says he's got like 5 driving emotion. What is it?
He said he's a one-note character.
Pain, drums.
That's
and
it.
Yet, somehow, within all that, you find it all melds together in the core of this character who really is a nurturing, loving soul. Who knew?
They retconned him. They kind of retconned him in this because the old version of him chasing women, you just for 10 episodes, you can't do that anymore. But they still found something in him that they could do. And it expanded the character and it made him more fun. They took that, like, you know, guy that loves bunny rabbits, and they found more of that, which I thought was cool. Yeah.
So I really couldn't have had lower expectations for the Muppets Mayhem, which maybe feels like a mean thing to say, but I was like, there's no way that an Electric Mayhem show is going to work. I can't believe that there's a human cast like that's, but also like, why, you know, I just was like, this is not going to work. And I really enjoyed the show. I know, and I talk about this a little in my review for the website toughpigs.com. I think the last 3 episodes kind of don't stick the landing as well as I had hoped. But those first 7 episodes, you know, are really entertaining and really do provide a good direction that not only for the Electric Mayhem, but honestly that I would like to see them taking the other Muppet characters in. I really enjoyed it. I have my quibbles with it, again, especially with those last 3 episodes, but like, as a whole, I was really pleased, you know, and my fiance was watching it with me, and they're not really a big Muppet fan, although they like them. And they weren't even going to watch it. They were like, just watch it yourself. And then they came over and they were like, I think Muppets Mayhem is good. And that was the ultimate compliment, that someone who, doesn't always love all of these Muppet things was like, I think this one is good.
And the biggest thing for me is that a lot of my friends who don't watch Muppet stuff frequently, because I also think that Disney has actually done a pretty good job with marketing it. They could do more, as they always could, but I think that with this one, particularly in comparison to some of the other stuff, aka Muppets Haunted Mansion, which received none, I was very happy with the amount that they were kind of pushing it. The number of billboards and subway posters that I saw in New York alone really delighted me. And I had a lot of friends text me and be like, I started watching this because I know how much you love the Muppets, and I really like it. Or just kind of this sense of like, whoa, I wasn't expecting to kind of be into it. This is so fun. I want to watch some of the other stuff, which I think is always a great way for them to kind of have new fans enter the sphere.
I agree. I think the marketing was maybe not as aggressive as the 2015 show, yet still solid. I think they were more strategic about it. And again, the writer's strike, I think, really hampered their ability to show what they could do well, which is live appearances. I do know, without revealing too much, that there were going to be late night appearances. There were going to be TV. And that just all went away.
The campaign that was planned out was
completely derailed. Wonderful. But the show was finished in time, and it seems to be gathering quite a bit of good buzz.
What did you all think of the show's music? Have you listened to the album since you watched the show? And does it feel right for the Muppets and right for the band? How are you feeling?
I like it a lot. I do listen to it somewhat often. We have the vinyl.
Do you have the purple or the green? Or do you have both like a real fan?
Okay, I don't have both. I might collect vinyl, but that is a depth that I will not go to. I thought it was completely ridiculous when Taylor Swift released Midnights on 6 different color vinyls, and it was like, collect them all. I remember getting the email on the mailing list that was like, collect them all. I'm like, I am not spending $180
to buy the same album 6 times over. Ridiculous.
But the green one came in for me, and I was like, oh, why did I do this?
I mean, to be fair, at least it was only 2 versions with Muppets Mayhem.
Very true.
Yeah, it was a
so
lot
far. So far.
But no, I like it. I like it a lot. I will say, I find some of the covers to be a little strange. There gets to be the point where I'm like, and I have so much respect for the new performers, but it's like, I'm not listening to Cyndi Lauper singing True Colors, and I'm also not listening to original Janice sing True Colors. So it's almost like, you put a piece of carbon paper under your song, but I don't know, that feels a little mean. It's some of those give me a little bit of trouble, but the original songs I genuinely love. And I really like Rock On and Gotta Be and Gonna Get There. I think that they're all really good. And certainly that style would work for other Muppet characters as well, beyond the Electric Mayhem. Like, I think this songwriting team could write a good song for Kermit. I want to apologize for saying I was trying to make a reference to Carbon Paper, the Rolf song. I want to apologize.
I see.
Okay, so first of all, it didn't land with even this group of people, and second of all, it felt a little mean-spirited. I think that, again, I think that the new performers are doing incredible jobs, but it does lose something when you're not looking at the puppet while listening to the music.
I agree with maybe the cover versions. Not that there aren't ones I enjoy. I enjoy Join Together just because I love the Who's version. But the originals, yes, absolutely stand. I would say Rock On, within a matter of weeks, is probably my most listened to Muppet song from this century.
Yeah.
Like in the last
I sing it the
23
most
years.
of any of them.
That's the one that sticks in my head. So bravo for giving this band more than one original song.
Well, I wanted to see more duets with famous people. They just kind of had them pop in, and I thought, an album of just them doing, songs with musical artists would sell well. But when it's, as Becca said,
I think that's a great second album for them. I think it's
for
really
the tour.
exciting.
If they do a tour,
if they do a tour season or something like that.
Like we were just saying about surprise guests being a big part of a lot of modern concert tours.
Yeah,
again,
we showed up to your tours. Now you show up to ours.
But I my vinyl is like posted up, and a friend of mine was like, "What is that?" And I was explaining to them, and this sounds stupid, but I got like a little almost emotional, because I was like, the Muppet fans have been waiting for an Electric Mayhem album for as long as they've been around, and it's like really exciting that there is an album that is strictly their music. It's mostly original. And can you picture that as the only song? They're not doing Rockin' All Around the World from Muppets. They're not doing Nightlife. Like it's really just like brand new material that they're doing. And it's really exciting. And I love that they're kind of branching out. Like Gonna Get There is such a like new century folk song that like we what's the one that they did at the O2 in Hollywood Bowl? I can't remember. It's the one where they show the video in the back and they're like traveling everywhere.
With
it's
a
a cover,
help from
but
my
like
friends.
No.
Home.
I think it's Home.
Home, yeah.
I remember when I watched
Edward
them
Sharpe.
do Home, I was like, this is such a good cover. I was like, they sound really good on folk stuff, like really good folk stuff. And I love that they leaned into that. And I think that, something that's evident in Mayhem is that they really kind of analyze the Mayhem history in terms of like what has worked recently, what worked in the past, and how do we all encompass it in this. For me, I don't know why, but my favorite is We Are One. I think it's because Floyd is leading on it, and I love Matt's Floyd so much. It just makes my heart so warm, and I think he sounds so good on that song. Between that and Rock On, those are like the two that I go back and forth. I also think I love their Rock and Roll All Night. I think it's so fitting that they're doing a Kiss song, and it just makes me so happy anytime I hear it.
Also, weirdly enough, the one I listen to a lot is Makin' Mayhem, the Sophia Carson version, just because it's so damn funny. Just like these offhanded things. Let's make a song about it, and it becomes a huge hit.
And they did, and I love that they did not do one with the Mayhem band. That they only had the Sophia Carson version.
It is funny, but it's interesting that they have their celebrity so like contained in that way. Because you were talking about them doing duets. I feel like they made a point in the show about how they weren't going to have the Mayhem, like it wouldn't make that much sense for the Mayhem to just record with a bunch of big artists or big producers for the sake of big artists and big producers, but they wanted to keep it authentically Mayhem. And I do wonder if they could have found a way to do that while incorporating some, if not contemporary artists, then like artists from any time. Like there are still artists who had their heyday decades ago who are making music today. It could have been done, but like I don't even know how to speak to a conversation about Muppet music, because like even though I'm the one who wrote the My Week with Muppet cover series for Tough Pigs, I'm not that inclined to listen to Muppets singing other people's songs. I would much rather listen to the other people sing their songs. And I'm also not, I didn't even come into this as the biggest fan of the Electric Mayhem, so I just don't even know how to talk about this show. Which makes it a little hard for me to even know how to moderate this podcast. But
hey, it's got Weird Al. That's all you need.
That's true.
Finally, you need is Al.
All you need is Weird. Oh, yeah. I'm just so happy that he's finally on film on camera in a Muppet production and not just a photo shoot from Muppet
It took
magazine.
way too long.
Way too long.
Just such a no-brainer.
It felt like there was a restraining order or something, because that's the only thing I could think of that would keep Weird Al and the Muppets apart.
Man, that Weird Al Gonzo feud in the 90s. I mean, it all started when Muppets Tonight got Coolio. You know that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt if they had gotten a third season, there would have been more. But, and God rest his soul, the fact that there's nothing with them and Pee-wee is crazy to me. Like, I feel like that's a match made in heaven.
He was a huge fan.
And it seems it was a mutual admiration society.
He did say the alphabet on Sesame Street, but that was edited out of a lot of rebroadcasts because of all the Pee-wee controversy.
And then
he also did
the first version.
He did Put Down the Ducky.
Yeah.
And speaking of Muppets, who were some of your favorite guests on this show? You know what? Actually, we already said Weird Al, and I don't think we're going to find anyone who we were more happy to see with the Muppets than Weird Al.
I will say I love Morgan Freeman's cameo. I love that he can make fun of his own his own legacy that way. The fact that he is this great performer and has been in so many things. Like, now I'm gonna play Zoot. Why not?
Zoot. Well, my favorite alongside him is Bill Beretta's son, Jackson, playing the actual painted
of equal
Zoot
fame
right
and stature. Yes,
of equal fame and stature, absolutely.
I like Cheech and Chong were in it, and they gave us Zoot's name. So there you go.
Oh my gosh!
Dave Goelz didn't really have a character in the Country Trio, but he was already Dave as Zoot. So if you think about it, he was there.
Oh yeah.
All right. So who are the standout characters from this show? I'm asking this even though I think we already know. Like, we were all wowed. They were all pretty funny. Like, we were definitely surprised by Lips now having a fully formed character who's just hilarious.
What Peter has done with Lips should not go unnoticed. I think that, Steve had done something so specific with him in sense of, like, he felt like a very Louis Armstrong or kind of like very New Orleans kind of character. And I think what Peter was able to find separate from him but stayed true in a character that was so underrepresented is absolutely astonishing, and to the point now where before Lips was one of those characters that I was like, oh look, they got Lips in, how cool. Now I cannot think of the Electric Mayhem without Lips.
He stole the show. He stole every scene he was in.
Absolutely,
he did, and I like that he didn't have the gravelly voice because that competes kind of with Dr. Teeth. So I felt like they went an interesting way with him. I like that.
It's another Peter Lin's magic trick. Like, he somehow just any time you give Peter the chance to do anything with the Muppets, whether it's an original character or a recast or this weird space in between where it almost feels like an original character because of just how little we saw of the original character, you're always just going to be amazed by what Peter can come up with and how he just embodies a character so much and makes it so alive. But, like, Dave Goelz is killing it with a character who normally doesn't even talk much. What in the world?
Well, the whole the backstory with the shoe, like how he was so dedicated to like figuring, and I mean, he's so weird, and it's like so proven that like but what made my heart warm was that it was like Dave was he was in the shop building the shoe, building the teeth, and like he was so dedicated to figuring out like what was going to be this new iteration of Zoot. And I think it's really astonishing because Dave is the only one that's been there from day one that is still there. And he is not, and not that, he shouldn't, but he is not somebody that's been like, it has to be this. I refuse to change. I refuse to evolve. I refuse to, move. And I'm not saying that even if he was like that, he'd necessarily be wrong. But I think his open and willingness to move with the flow of how the characters are deciding to evolve, whether that's based on corporate entity decisions or however it is, the way he has decided to ebb and flow with the brand I think is so beautiful, and it's so clear in Mayhem because Zoot is still Zoot, but the ways in which Zoot has like kind of like evolved into this almost ethereal being in this new iteration of it is so fascinating. And it's amazing that Dave is so not only willing but clearly excited to do that kind of character work.
But he also prefers Zoot not to talk much. I've seen interviews, and then he does get to talk some, and I like that because I prefer him to talk some.
Yeah.
But it's still good when it's just a little bit. Like I imagine you probably all remember this, but there was that strange. I think it was a birthday message that was recorded for Jerry Nelson in the 90s, where it's like all these different Muppets from different productions recorded their voices, and it's a very strange thing where they supposedly have the band there. They keep talking about how the Electric Mayhem is there to sing with them or whatever. And they sadly don't have Dr. Teeth or Janice at the time because it was the 90s. And Jerry Nelson would have been Floyd, and this was a surprise for Jerry. So you just have Animal and Zoot is doing so much more talking for the band than usual. And it's odd. It's weird when you hear Zoot doing much talking that's like coherent. You kind of need Zoot to be this interruption who is completely in his own plane of existence. And they captured it perfectly here without minimizing him, without pushing him to the background. Like, it is just the right amount of Zoot. Now, do I understand the weird magical direction they took with him? No, I don't get it. It's honestly not my cup of tea. But then again, I'm just the moderator. I'm not one of the panelists. Let's hear from you. Other favorite characters. How about the human cast? Like, we went into this, most of us, I think, expecting to not care about the humans, and then, lo and behold, like, I'm rooting for the romance. I'm invested in the romance. What happened?
I don't know. I still feel like I get that for like marketing reasons or whatever, it helps to have like recognizable human stars, but like I think that this would have been the perfect opportunity to introduce some new Muppets.
Let the humans have a little bit of the screen time. There are always humans in Muppet productions. It's fine.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, what would the Muppets Take Manhattan be without Ronnie Crawford?
You know, I don't know. Now, Matthew, you have successfully, very quickly and efficiently made me question my insistence that humans need to be represented in Muppet productions. Okay.
Oh no, that wasn't meant with any sarcasm. That was
okay. I couldn't tell. That could have been interpreted either way.
I know. That was a weird presentation of mine, but yeah, you do need that human element. Perhaps maybe the more essential element would be, Lady and Nikki Holiday. And
well, yeah, that's where.
But I think that depends on the production because I think I think that's dependent on the function with which the Muppets need to be used. Because I think the thing that's made me laugh in the past like 5 years is the trend of okay, you're doing a Muppet movie and there's one human. Go. There's only been one entity ever that has done that exact thing, and everyone has defined it as a quality of the Muppets. But I think it's actually a very interesting perspective on how the audience takes in the Muppets. When I was a kid, I couldn't give a shit about the humans. I only wanted to see the Muppets. But I think what it does is, and this is going to be such a random example, but follow me. In Tyler Perry's Medea films, if you have Medea the entire time, it actually doesn't work. You have to split it up with some of these other characters and some of these other side plots that personally I still don't give a crap about. However, it makes those Medea moments a lot better, and it actually provides a function that I think really works in terms of how you set up classic comedy bits between the straight man and the funny man. If you have the humans there providing this kind of weird, dramatic straight man function, it gives more opportunity for the Muppets to be who they are. Now, granted, the balance of how you do that is, again, like I'm going to say, dependent production to production, and not all the time does that need to be the case. There are no humans in Muppet Classic Theater, and Muppet Classic Theater is absolutely fabulous. But within something like Muppets Mayhem, I also am very interested in like the intersection between like the Muppets' existence in the human world and how there's no question about how those two interact with each other, and there's no question that there are just Muppets in the world. And so I think it's a very interesting thing. With all that said, I know a lot of people, including myself, my first person is Chaj Mori. I think he is the most perfect person to ever interact with the Muppets on a regular basis that I've seen. However, Sarah Chaudhry, who plays Lily Singh's sister, I actually think is fabulous in the show. And I really love that the element that she plays, especially alongside someone like Janice. And it's like kind of the first time that I feel like I've seen in a contemporary setting, someone in the younger generation interacting with the Muppets in a way that makes me go, oh, this isn't weird or cringy. I actually can see this relationship being something that's realistic.
So you mean,
and I would love to see more of that.
So you mean it's better than Studio DC Almost Live?
A colonoscopy is better than Studio DC.
No. I will take no Studio DC slander here. The second special is absolutely exquisite. No, it's a terrible thing. I can't believe it happened.
I do have to say, though, Fergie, putting it in terms of the Medea movies actually, like, is making me question my initial point of, like, yeah, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe we need a break from the Muppets for the Muppets to be funny. Maybe it is like that.
I think you need the humans to make the Muppets more grounded.
I think it provides a like kind of specialness.
It's the juxtaposition. Yeah. I think the juxtaposition is what helps, because if you just have the craziness all the time, there's nothing to compare it to. But I found like the Taj and what was her name? Taj and Nora dynamic to be a lot more interesting than the Gary and Mary dynamic and the 2011 film. I feel like they got the balance right in Mayhem that they didn't quite get right.
Well, they also get more time to do that.
You mean the characters weren't provided as commentary on the very thing that we're making? Sorry, I'll stop now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah, that's the thing is, like, I feel like in Muppets 2011, Gary and Mary were, like, at their best, they were supposed to just be kind of like symbols representing a male and female lead in a Muppet movie. We didn't know them, like, as real characters, whereas I do feel like, you know, Moog and Nora, we kind of have more of that sense.
But also, I think that Gary and Mary, they're having their own story, and Walter is a third wheel, and Walter is a fan of the Muppets. Walter is just this hinge, this very loose hinge that keeps Gary and Mary somewhat, sort of, kind of connected to the Muppets, but not totally connected.
I was going to say, you could have the Muppets without Gary and Mary.
Whereas this story about the Electric Mayhem, like, has the romance between the humans entirely interconnected with their relationships to the Mayhem.
Yes.
That keeps us interested in what these humans are doing. It's all relevant. It's all part of our
they
fandom
developed the characters.
Yeah.
They developed the characters. They weren't developed in the Siegel film. They were kind of underdeveloped and overexposed with screen time, in which I feel in Muppets Mayhem, they were blended nicely. But there's always going to be fans that just want to see the puppets. You know, they don't want to see the other characters.
The entirety of the 2011 film is just commentary on the nostalgia of it. It wasn't actually invested in the actual characters itself, which is what makes, as much I love Peter, I love what they have morphed Walter into, but the creation of Walter makes no sense. You can't have a Muppet that is commentary on love of Muppets. That's why Moog is a very interesting character, because Moog's love of the Muppets is what makes his relationship to the Muppets exciting. When you have a human that's in service of the Muppets, it's actually what makes the relationship work. Yeah. But if you only have that with Muppets doing that with each other, it doesn't make the Muppets special. But it's why you have those original films. The Muppet movie is great with all those cameos, because every single one of those cameos is in service of how the Muppets move the plot forward. Exactly. And when you have something that only is there to just like exemplify the nostalgia of it, you're actually not doing anything. And it's like you said, they're just overexposing the amount of time that they're on screen. And it's like this weird middle spot. And it's why they get the cutesy element of it, because you're not invested in the character itself. But that's what makes Muppets Mayhem work. And to be honest, I think that's a Bill Beretta thing for sure. But that's very much an Adam Goldberg thing. Yeah, that's very much an Adam Goldberg thing. That
I was concerned about Adam Goldberg. I didn't know how that was going to be, but it blended perfectly. And Bill Beretta gets these characters. He gets them. And not only does he get them, he gets where they should be going. Because you cannot just trap them in what is the past, but you cannot have them go off in the direction that ABC went off. And like I read a book, I won't even name the name of it, in which they were going into different Hollywood writers' rooms and different things. And someone said that wrote for the Muppets and on ABC, he'd never write for them again. I said, good. but because he's like, well, anyone could just do the puppetry. I don't know why they picked these people and only these people. And I'm like,
no, hell no.
Go away. It's like,
that is such a clear commentary of they wouldn't let me do whatever I wanted.
Because it was just, it's like, well, anyone can do it. And it's like, oh, you don't know. This is why it just fell flat in so many. I like the ideas of the ABC show, but it would just make turns and turn Fozzie into kleptomaniac, or
it needed one more. It needed one more season.
Person.
Yes,
but Piggy didn't have a
I'm blowing my horn. I'm blowing my horn. This has become a 2015 podcast, and it needs to be a Muppets Mayhem podcast. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I was just saying how Bill Beretta understood the characters and where they were going,
right.
And that's the seed that everything comes from. You cannot not understand the characters, or you cannot have writers write for you who don't understand the characters. And one thing I noticed for Muppets Mayhem of everything else, when I actually looked up at their Wikipedia page, is how many women writers they had for the series, and a woman director for 2 of the episodes. And of course, you had two new characters performed by women in Muppets Mayhem as well, which Penny Waxman.
I mean, talk about new Muppets. Oh my God.
My God.
It took me a while to wrap my head around the idea that Penny Waxman and Abby Cadabby have the same performer. That's just how versatile Leslie Carrera Rudolph is.
That's just the brilliance of Leslie Carrera Rudolph. My God. I mean, Penny Waxman is just like, that is to me like great late 80s, early 90s, like truly wacky Muppet that makes like Bill the Bubblehead guy. It's like right up there, just like absolutely absurd.
It is also like just a gorgeous puppet. It's very different than most of the other Muppets, but in a way that I really liked. I really appreciate them adding a character who feels like she could continue with the show if they wanted to. And that's always something that I'm kind of looking for. And, with regards to the like women in the writer's room thing, I'm just going to say, like, this is why it helps to bring in kind of like different voices and like more diverse voices just in general, is because you sometimes can tackle angles in ways that feel more authentic and things like that. And you don't get, just Miss Piggy acting crazy all the time because women are crazy and things like that.
Yes.
I did want to add, because I know we were talking about Adam Goldberg. Now, I watched the Goldbergs beginning to end, and I will say this much. It's one thing to love the Muppets. It's another thing to get the Muppets. And I think Adam Goldberg is the first new writer in a long time that has both loved the Muppets and gets the Muppets.
Yeah.
This is so exciting. So what would you like to see from the same creators next? Like, if they got to do more of this stuff, if the same creative team got to do more with the Muppets, what Muppet productions are you looking for? I mean, it sounds like more than anything, you want a season 2 of Muppets Mayhem.
Well,
yes,
for sure.
Absolutely.
We need to find out what happened to Janice. Janice's sister.
Oh my God.
They just told us, and then
if I don't get to see the twin, I'm gonna be pissed. I need to know the twin. And I need the twin played by, like, Bill Beretta. Like, I need something crazy. If I don't get the twin, I'm rioting.
And then we find out that the twin was actually on the first season of The Muppet Show, and it sounds just like Aaron Oscar.
That would be the perfect twist.
Oh, my God. Or they get Peter Friedman back into his puppeteering roots and get him to do Janice's sister.
I'm trying to figure out how we can start to move quickly-ish towards a finish, because, like, I don't know what quickly is for this group at this point, and we haven't done all the discussion questions yet. Like, it's such a great conversation, but it is also where I am after 10 o'clock. Oh, boy.
JD, we basically just did my discussion question.
Which was, remind me.
My discussion question was like, what lessons should they learn from Muppets Mayhem? That's basically all we've been talking about this entire time.
Okay, so more Jimmy Shoo is the big lesson we came away with, right?
Yeah, so if I had to...
That was a joke. I would like less Jimmy Shoo. I don't understand Jimmy Shoo. I'm sorry. I know that's a very controversial opinion, but I don't get it. I just don't get it.
If I had one thing that I think that they need to keep from Muppets Mayhem...
Okay, dramatic pause.
No, I thought I had a joke, but I didn't. Jimmy Shoo.
It's Jimmy Shoo.
Great. Fergie, what's your discussion question? Becca lost. What's your 10 points away from Becca? I'm the host now, so I get to take points away from you.
Dictatorship. This is my question. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying about like how Lips has kind of been like in and out. The thing that I was waiting for the entire time was whether or not Clifford was going to join the series. I had a feeling he wasn't going to, but Clifford is admittedly probably my favorite Muppet of all time, if not like one of my favorite Muppets. And so I've been very curious about like his insertion in the Muppets during the 90s when everybody was urban, so they needed an urban Muppet. And like for me, I was so like interested in whether or not they were going to bring him back in a very new way. But my discussion question is, what are the rules and regulations for extra members of the Mayhem? And that includes Lips, because now Lips is like established as like a member of the Mayhem, but up until this point, it was definitely like, yeah, some gigs we need a dude on the xylophone, so we'll bring Lips. Fergie. Or we need a dude on bells, so we'll call Clifford.
Fergie, did you read my article about this for the website toughpigs.com?
I think I did, which is mostly my like brain thinking
where
of like...
I ranked how likely it was that they would bring back different guest members. Yeah, that was me. Yes. Yeah, and listen,
because you said for Clifford less likely, and I was like, hey, I think Clifford may not really, maybe, hopefully, I really want him here.
I want Clifford back too. I'm a big Clifford fan. But also, like, the Mayhem doesn't have rules.
No.
What is it? What did they say? A musicocracy or something like that? A grooveocracy? I can't remember. Fergie, I feel like you and I have talked before about how I think we both grew up with the It's Not Easy Being Green sing-along VHS tape, which, like, is one of the few Muppet productions where we talked about those that are aimed at kids. It's one of the few ones aimed at kids that prominently features Clifford. And so we were both primed as children to expect that we would get to grow up with Muppet productions with a lot of Clifford, and then we weren't given that. And I also would like to voice that I would like to at least get a status update on what's happened in his life.
I just want to know where he's at. You had this really cool Rastafarian dreaded catfish, and now I don't get to know how he's doing.
We just need to check in. Just any status update, please.
He's secretly been hosting Muppets Tonight continually and wondering where the hell everyone else is.
I feel like there was some rumor that he's like out in Amsterdam or something like that. Or something crazy.
As the only panelist here who was born in the 70s, you all make me feel old.
Sorry.
I do like him. I do like him, and I find Clifford to be one of the most beautiful puppets that they've built. And I love the Palisades figure. It's one of the best figures that they did.
Oh my God. His is great.
The coloring, just how they gave him both his eyes and his glasses, and they figured out how to do that. But it's I didn't work on him. But he's just absolutely so beautiful.
Yeah. He's a great puppet. That character.
I was hoping that Johnny Fiamma would be back as well. Have a thing. But they made it just about the Mayhem. They left it there, had the cameo at the end with Statler and Waldorf, and that was it. Which I kind of was proud of them for doing.
Yeah, well, listen, that was one thing that I really did appreciate. And as far as like lessons, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, like they had the guts to be like, no, we don't need, Kermit and Fozzie and Gonzo and Piggy. And I appreciate that kind of bold chance where it's like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Like now I'm curious, like, could they make, a just Bunsen and Beaker show? Could they make, just Gonzo show? Like, could they do, and Now I'm thinking the answer might be yes. Whereas I don't know if I would have said that if I was on this, panel a year ago.
Something to consider is that in previous Muppet productions, we've seen a lot of things now, as we've talked about, almost too many things where the Muppets split up and have to get back together or something like that. And what this show is playing with is they have this separate group where they can do a storyline about how the Muppets Mayhem, like the Electric Mayhem, might split up, but then they have to come together as a unit by the end. And that allows them to kind of trick you into not noticing the fact that it's weird that they're talking about how they have to stick together as a family and they're not with the rest of the family unit that they keep telling us the Electric Mayhem has to be part of. And I'm not sure they can pull off that magic trick again with a smaller set of characters that doesn't feel like a self-contained family in the same way. Nevertheless, what an interesting experiment this has been. What a reinvention of what a Muppet show can be.
And I encourage them to do more of that. This is not a name drop. This is just simply factual. I was lucky to be able to speak with Frank Oz recently about kind of his opinions on where the Muppets are as a entity currently and his feelings on him working with them again. And it was interesting to hear his perspective about how he worked with those characters in kind of a very almost like stock kind of way, or like a variety show or vaudeville kind of way. Like, these are characters who fulfill a very specific function, and if they break that, it's done. And not to say I don't agree with Frank Oz, but it's interesting to see these other groups of people who have been with these characters arguably longer now and take these characters and move them in a direction because of the function that they have to provide within the corporate entity. Because they're moving them in a very specific way, it has made me as a consumer be like, I see both sides of it. And it's exciting to see both sides of it. And it's, it's really interesting to kind of, and going back to what you were saying about what an interesting experiment, I want to see more of these kinds of experiments. I think this is really fascinating, and how they are open about hey, because we've lost Steve, we no longer are able to do the Gonzo Rizzo thing, so now we're trying the Gonzo Pepe thing and seeing if that's a thing that works. And I'm loving that sense of we are not trying to rehash what we have done before and just do it in a new way. We're trying to see if we can do new dynamics, new situations, new whatever, but keep these characters in the same place that we've always had these characters. And I think as long as they're in that place, they are going to find something interesting, whether or not it's the best thing we've ever seen, whatever. But I think that it's always going to be a fascinating venture. If there's anything you can say about Lady Gaga and the Muppets Holiday Special, is that it's interesting above anything else.
I mean, you could say that.
Wow.
It's fascinating that it
anybody
exists.
can say that. This is America.
Anybody can say that it's interesting.
Okay, Jamie, go ahead.
What you said about Frank Oz saying, the limited functions of the characters that he found as stock characters. The one character that I found Animal having a growth journey, kind of in the same sense of Gonzo through the years. They found other things for him to do, and Gonzo is the only probably Muppet that has had about 4 different lives. From the creature he was, to the kid he was, to the crazy artist he was, to the figurehead when Kermit was kind of took a back seat, to whatever he is now, kind of semi-retired, just doing what he wants. And I feel like that's why he's my favorite character, is because he did grow. So I that's the other side that I see to it, and how they did with Animal, how they kind of developed him, and how they developed all the characters. Not Janice enough. But I'm hoping for that for the next.
The foundation is there for that.
There is. There is.
And I think, for David, that's probably tricky, because I think I know for a lot of them, they're this is such a weird territory because we've never had the opportunity to dive in. And for David specifically, because he was so close to Richard. And, I think he even, as much as he loves being able to honor Richard in that way, I think he feels some type of way about kind of taking on these characters in this. And I feel like this was the first time he really allowed himself, outside of Scooter, to take a character, or Cookie, to take a character that was established outside of, somebody else, and to like really kind of find his own way in. Because talk about a one-note character. Like before, Janice was just the butt of the jokes of like, and it's my life and I'm naked. Like that was always who Janice was. And Floyd's
and
girlfriend.
Now she's stay in your lane.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's this like whole new thing that I'm like, this is such a different take, and it's such a not the Janice that I've seen before.
Yes.
But it's a take I'm very interested in. And I feel like this was really great for like a couple people who maybe were not so, I don't want to say willing because they weren't courageous enough, but more because of maybe how they felt about having the character, not willing to like dive as deep. But I feel like if there is a second season or life beyond this, there is a lot more confidence and a lot more excitement towards really like exploring those kind of waters.
Oh, yes.
So then in terms of, are we happy with the show and would we be happy for more? Can everyone just say thumbs up or thumbs down? That's it. You only get those two words. What do we say? I see Fergie giving a thumbs up. Matthew's a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumb.
Jamie's two thumbs. That's cheating. I didn't say that was an option. Okay.
What about you, JD?
I haven't decided yet. Anyway, congratulations though to the makers of the Muppets Mayhem for making a show that has made so many people happy. I still have not decided whether or not I'm one of them, but that's beside the point. I got 4 panelists together. What are the odds that they would all like them unless they're right about it?
I'm on my 4th viewing.
Panelists, friends, we've reached the end of another edition of the Great Muppet Fandom Panel. Hey, why don't I ask the panelists where we can find them on the internet today? Jamie, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on jvcarroll, CARROLL.com.
Matthew, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on, I really don't want to say X, but the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Matthew Soberman, 2 T's, all _, 1 word.
Fergie, where can people find you on the internet?
Find me on the internet at Fergsters, FERGSTERS95. Everywhere that is allowable to type in.
And Becca, I'm still cross with you for the Habawa segment the other day. That you know exactly which one I'm talking about. You know exactly which minigame it was. So I think we're just going to move right along.
Oh,
Becca, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, I'll make this quick, which I don't usually do, but I'm on Twitter at Uncle Petunio. That's Uncle, like, I don't know, the kind of person whose nephew would be a frog. And Petunio is like the flower, except with an O instead of the A. And then I'm on all of the other social media at the much easier to spell Tall Girl Petunia. That time the flower is spelled correctly. That's where I am on every social media that isn't called X.
And now, a moment of spontaneous applause for our panel of Muppet experts. Thank you. If you enjoyed this program, we hope you'll consider supporting us on Patreon. Thank you to those of you who do so now. This Tough Pigs Muppet Fan Podcast was executive produced by the Tough Pigs Muppet Fan Podcast executive producer, Joe Hennis. Thanks to Kenny Durkin for our artwork, and thanks to Frank Oz, because it's always a good time to thank a Frank. For toughpigs.com, this is JD Hansel reminding you, as I always do, of Jim Henson's motto, you'll never get out of the cube. Goodbye.
Hey guys, is Zoot behind me? So honestly, Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines a sandwich as two or more slices of bread, or a split roll having a filling in between. Now, a split roll doesn't make sense. A hot dog cannot be a sandwich. If you have a sandwich between if you put a hot dog between 2 slices of bread, that hot dog is going to fall through. There is no way a hot dog can be a sandwich. Now,
well, I mean, I just don't understand why they can't just CGI the Muppets now and transmit them right into my brain so I can do the exact shows I want to see. This is information age, but then how will my cerebral cortex want to deal with the unions?
So you know what's really interesting are Sesame character birthdays. And I've been thinking a lot about Sesame character birthdays. And one thing that's really bothering me is Prairie Dawn, Prairie Dawn's my favorite character. And Prairie Dawn, her birthday is August 3rd. But one thing that really surprised me to learn was that birthday wasn't established until 2005, after she'd already been a character for almost 35 years. So I don't know why it took that long. Betty Lou got her birthday in 1974. That's not fair.
My curiosity really lies within the fact that within the Sesame Street refrigerator, because there's a general run for every single character, I personally want to see the broccoli and the pineapple finally duke it out, mostly because I think they're the two best Sesame Street fruit. Now, in my opinion, I believe that the pineapple would win. However, the broccoli really does have a lot of things going for it that I think could potentially make it a better suitor. However, I think that the kind of triangle or multiple triangle shape of the pineapple mouth would eventually make it the successor. But I could be wrong, and I'd be willing to kind of test it out within a simulator to see how that would work.
Fergie, you are so right. I love the little jaggedy mouth that the pineapple has.
It makes it's exquisite. It's just absolutely fantastic.
But I also agree that broccoli is a strong contender.
A strong contender.